Could have cut in a bit earlier just to keep you on your toes, Paul. Episode 5.
We're always ready, ever ready. Like
Episode 5 of Through the Looking Glass.
Still standing, still going strong.
You've not left your desk since the last episode, have you?
Stay there, why not?
And the reason you've not left your desk, the reason he's not left his desk is because we've got a whopper. Let's use the word whopper. We've got a whopper of an episode tonight, haven't we? We've got a special guest. Tonight, you're not just going to hear two middle-aged white blokes moaning about the world. Tonight, we have got an actual guest, real person in the flesh.
We've blown apart the demographic of the show.
We have, actually, 100%. Exactly that. It's a bit like the DEI sort of thing. We're hitting the DEI targets tonight. But we've got with us tonight, live from America, conspiracy enthusiast. I think she's an expert. She thinks she's an enthusiast.
Sounds like an expert to me.
It sounds like an expert to us. But tonight, it's all about conspiracy theories. And you know what I say, Paul? You know what I say?
It's a late night episode.
That is why it's a late night episode.
Conspiracy theories at lunchtime.
This is a bit like the Twilight Zone. We need to do it at a time, that's good for the audience. But I think, Paul, it's not a conspiracy if it's true. That's the thing, man. That's the thing. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's what we're going to find out tonight. We've got 5, 6 different conspiracy theories to talk about. We're going to talk about evidence for them. We're going to talk about why they're probably true, why they might not be true. We're going to try and convince Paul and I of a certain amount of things. Far out, wacky, wonderful, weird. I'm up for this. You up for this, Paul? Let's bring her in. Mind blown. Guys, there are 2 people watching already as well, Paul. Look at that.
Jesus, 2. That is great.
Thank you so much, guys. But without further ado, to the 2 that are watching, welcome, Carrie. What's happening, Carrie? How you doing, man? You okay?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, rock and roll. Yeah, we're so pleased that you're here. And I feel like we're old friends now, Carrie, you and I.
Yes.
At least like a month.
Yes.
Like a month. This is one of my oldest friends now. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. For anybody who's watched another podcast that I do, which is about interviewing authors. Carrie's an author. And last time we were talking to Carrie, we found out that Carrie has some interests, right, in conspiracy theories. She's a conspiracy theory enthusiast. And we thought, we need Carrie on this podcast. We need to hear all about this stuff. And I'm loving it. I'm so excited. Paul's excited as well. Look, that's Paul's excited face. Show us your excited face, Paul. There it is.
I'm glad to hear that.
I love discovering what things might be out there that I've never known before. And us as a human race, actually putting a little bit more of our piece of puzzles together to make a picture of what life might have been like. So it's fantastic. And to get a different perspective from the other side of the planet, from the more sane region of this earth, I think it's great.
No, I'm afraid not.
Which end of the planet are you talking about there? Which is the same?
It's America, isn't it?
Is it? Are they more sane than us? I think they might be.
100%.
Yeah. Never voted by us, did they? So, yeah.
I would beg to differ. I think that we're not proving ourselves at the moment. We're actually showing our craziest side to the world, and currently, and so no, we're out there. But
I know this isn't about conspiracy, what we're going to talk about now, but in this little minute we've got, but America spread peace throughout the world. They keep people's resources safe by taking it away from them and keeping it in their own region, because obviously they don't want to get lost, and that's fantastic.
This is British sarcasm coming out right now.
I was gonna say, it's like, I mean, that and it used to benefit Americans, because like I remember, when gasoline for us was 99 cents a gallon, right? That was not that long ago, and now it's like 4 or 5. So we kept it for ourselves, and now our elite keep it from us. So it's like we went out, took it, absorbed it, brought it all in, and now we're just squeezing everybody.
Well, it's
only a small group of people.
It's about $10 a gallon here, and has been for quite a while, isn't it, Paul?
I work in pounds. Sorry, mate, you've lost me.
Yeah, no, it's. I would say that it's like when we say America. it's like our government is it's off on its own. It's like the people are living a totally different life than the government is. It's so so far removed.
Well, that's where we're similar, right? That's exactly we're so similar. And this week, at the end of this week, Paul and I are hopefully going to do an election special. You've got to watch this.
Ooh,
we're going to do a UK election special, right? We're going to report about who's winning which seats. Carrie, will you, live on air right now, will you pledge to come back and do a US election special with us when it comes to like 8 months away?
I will. And I have to tell you, this is the first time that I have no clue what's going to happen. Like, I have so much speculation, and I have no idea what the actual outcome is, because, I don't even know who's going to be the candidates, and we've only got 5 months to go. And I hope you guys don't have as much insanity as we do. But
well, I'd say that you've got strong choices. You've got an Alzheimer's patient, and you've got a criminal, and I think that's brilliant. Like, which one do you go for?
Definitely RFK Jr. No questions asked. He has like he had brain worms, and he ate a dog once and stuff like that. But other than those little details, he's actually a rather good guy, and I think he'd make an excellent president. He's up to almost 10% of the vote. Like by polls. Yeah.
Is there more than Trump and Biden then? Is it the same here? You've got these two big candidates, but
there's loads of libertarians, isn't there? Making loads of noise, libertarians at the moment. I hear about. There's one, I don't know if you follow her, the redheaded libertarian on X. Do you know who I'm talking about, Carrie? You should follow her. If you haven't followed her, follow her.
I should.
Yeah. And Heidi Brioni, you should follow Heidi. She talks about libertarians always being a bit retarded, which is hard R there. But her words, not mine, man. But yeah.
No, the libertarians have they had a really good showing in like 2016, but it's kind of died off for this election, unfortunately. So I think they're only polling like less than 1%. So their candidate isn't making an impact. But RFK Jr. had like 15% on like 4 different polls and should have qualified for the debate, but they moved the debate forward so they could do it early and exclude him. So two-party system keeps going strong.
Yeah, we've got that here. But anyway, guys, we'll get to election specials. We'll definitely have you back, Carrie, so we can do it live from America on the. How cool would that be, Paul? I'd love that. But that's not what we're not here to talk about. Unless we're talking about
who's actually running the country
within government. Yeah, I mean that's a good conspiracy right there, isn't it? And if that's on your list, Carrie, then great. But what we asked Carrie to do, said, Carrie, please go away, get your top 3, 4, 5, whatever conspiracy theories, come back and educate us. And you've done that, right? You've got a list of stuff we're going to talk about tonight.
I have a list of a few that I think are worth talking about. Yes. Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Are you ready for the first one?
The floor is yours. Yeah, tell us.
Okay. All right. So the first one is the Mandela effect. And I don't know if either of you guys have heard about the Mandela effect at all.
Yes.
Okay.
So is this the thing where it appears like stuff has changed in the past? So I think it's the Berenstein or Bernstein books is a popular one. Where was it Bernstein or Steen? It looks like the writing has changed. The Fruit of the Loom logo is another one, right? The Fruit of the Loom logo, I think, is another one.
Yes, the Fruit of the Loom logo is the one that really got me, because I personally have a very distinct memory of using the Fruit of the Loom logo for like a reference for drawing a cornucopia when I was a kid. But apparently there's never been a cornucopia. That's not been part of it. And my memory is just apparently false. And I was like, but it's so vivid, it's so distinct. I remember where I was sitting, the type of paper I was using. I remember how old I was. I remember what I'd been doing that week, And but they say no cornucopia whatsoever. No, so that's one of the ones that got me. But here's a question: what color? You guys watch Star Wars, or you know them? You know what color C-3PO's left?
I was this one as well. This is one.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Okay. So do you remember him having a silver left leg?
This sort of silence is fantastic. Can you hear Simon?
Sorry, I was on mute. But only.
I was just going to still carry on. These moments are special.
God
And when we
damn it.
can't hear Simon, we fill the
just-
gap with something
I was just
positive.
about to share a window. I was just about to look at the fruit of the loom thing for the viewers. I'll bring that on a sec. But with the old 3PO, only in the prequels. In the prequels, he had a silver left leg because Anakin hadn't finished building him. But in the original trilogy, or right leg, whatever, in the original trilogy, I'm quite convinced he was all gold.
That's
I'm
what I
sure
remember
he was.
too.
Yeah.
That's what I remember as well.
But
Paul?
this is the thing, well, the people that produce the clothing and stuff like that, they didn't have the silver leg in. So, and this is where, is it Mandela effect or is it just things have been manipulated? So I looked at the ones today and he had a silver right leg. And I was like, I never knew that. I always thought it was double gold. But over time, the people that produce the figures and all that sort of stuff will have just done it a different way. So you've got different people having remembered different things.
Why would they do that? Why would they produce a figure that was inaccurate?
Why do you have a silver leg?
Well, to show that, I don't know. But I always thought that it showed that Anakin hadn't finished building him yet.
Oh right, yeah.
In the original, well, in the prequels, I should say, episodes 1 to 3, and because in episode 1 he really wasn't finished, was he? And then I always thought that he must have got his other golden leg at some point later on. I don't know what. I definitely know in episode 1 he's got a silver leg. After that, I don't know. I think in Attack of the Clones, I think he has a silver leg. After that, I don't know. But I'm utterly convinced in the original trilogy, he's all gold. Golden limbs all over the place. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I swear that it was all gold. What I have read is that this is the one where if you go back and you watch it, it's silver. It's always been silver. And we just never noticed. So that's
when he's first buying the droids, he's got a silver leg. I saw that today.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So I've just.
So that's just what do they call it in movies where they don't do things correctly in the right order? I'll think of it. I'm really good at remembering things without the bloody word.
So I got a couple more. Okay,
so the bottom of his leg. It's not his whole leg. It's just the bottom.
Yeah, just from the knee down, like the calf is silver. That's what they say.
Continuity. I got the word eventually. They haven't checked the continuity, kept it right.
Yeah. All right. So here's another one that got me right.
Next one, go on.
I never know.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember a comedian named Sinbad who made a movie called Shazam, and he played, like the genie in this movie. Yeah. It doesn't exist. Nothing of the sort existed, and that's what they say. So, and apparently there's no videotapes or evidence of it. It didn't happen. And Shaq apparently played a genie much later in time, like not in the 90s when it would have happened. It doesn't exist.
Wow.
You remember it, don't you? I don't. I remember it, but there's no evidence for it. This is not one that exists.
What?
So is that brain?
Yeah, I know. All right, okay, let's go on to another one. Okay.
So there's Kazam, isn't there? There's Kazam, which is the Shaq one. That's the Shaq one, isn't it?
That's
Shazam.
correct. Yeah.
But I definitely remember Sinbad Shazam. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember it too. Oh no. That does not just hurt. I've got another one. Okay, so Henry VIII. He's in some paintings of him.
We've heard of him. We've heard of him. Yeah, go on.
And he's holding something. What is he holding in his, in the paintings?
So they're nothing or a sword.
Yeah, or
a lot of people.
Or the head of his ex-wife, probably.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. No, I think a lot of people remember him holding a turkey leg, and so that's not in any of the paintings, which isn't as surprising as other ones. But
is that like a parody sort of image though? Because that's probably something that I've seen that's one of those mock-up images. I definitely remember him holding. I always thought it was like lamb or definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought he was holding food in like his most famous painting, but no. So that's just another one that, there's some that, I think everybody has like some that they identify with, and then other ones are like, no. But here's one that got me just very recently. Okay. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. What are they?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I do
We
know.
got death,
I do know. Yeah.
war,
Yeah.
famine, and
pestilence.
what's the fourth? That's what we all think, isn't it? And it's conquest. It's not. It's not pestilence. You know, somebody's been like going through Revelations, showing the proof. It's pestilence. It's right there in the Bible. I read it. I couldn't believe it, but apparently it's always been conquest. But I kind of wonder sometimes with the Mandela effect, is it that we remember somebody else who got it wrong? Like maybe we all said mirror, mirror on the wall rather than magic mirror on the wall, you know? And then we just,
that's
one,
somebody's, isn't it? That is
one
right there. Well, that one, I mean, I was reading quite recently my favorite book of all time, but we've gone back to books now, Carrie, which is Good Omens, right? By Good Omens.
Love it. Love it. That's a great book.
And the four horsemen turn up in that. And then Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett have had a bit of a laugh and said, look, there's not a lot of pestilence around anymore. So they've had to rebrand one as pollution. So they turned pestilence into pollution, one of the four horsemen in that. But they didn't turn conquest into pollution. They turned pestilence into pollution. I've never heard that at all, the conquest one. That's bananas.
Yeah. So it could be that, you know, maybe for like a couple hundred years, we've been repeating pestilence. And then like the first person who popularized it in culture rather than in religion got it wrong. That's a possibility. And obviously Good Omens had it that way. And I distinctly recall, pollution turning the river, kind of black and,
That's
sitting there.
Yeah.
And, and she was taken over for, pestilence, and it was pestilence, but yeah, and it's in pop culture in many different forms. But in the Revelations, it's definitely conquest. So, yeah. So when did we get that wrong? Is this Mandela effect, or is this just like we're wrong? I don't know.
I think that's what you just said, where people change stuff. And if you look at the origins of words and things like that, we think there's something. We think they're one way now, but the origin of a word or what it meant back in the day is completely different. Similar to what we're saying now. There's the Monopoly man. We've got Monopoly over here. I don't know if they have it in America. He's got a monocle. Yeah, but apparently he never had a monocle. So I think it's just people saying someone says it and then not.
Yeah, and what's funny is I don't remember him having a monocle. So. Some people do, some people don't. And a lot of people do. But if you look at even if you go back and find the earliest forms of the game, you're not going to find it on any of them.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's absolutely nuts.
It's
one of my
favorite? Fallibility of humanity, that's what it is.
I'm just going to see if I can share a window now. I don't know if this is going to work, but let me see if I can do this right now. I know it's going to be a bit blurry, whatever, but that one, I saw this one, and that blows my mind. The Looney Tunes one. Because
Which one do you remember?
Well, Tunes. Because Tunes doesn't make any sense. It's musical. Tunes as in cartoons. Why would they be tunes? It literally doesn't make any sense, does it?
Not really.
That blows my mind. And then this is the Berenstain ones. I always remember Stein, whatever. I don't remember Stain ever. I'm not going to show any more of these because I don't want to take away what's on your list or whatever. But that one, I just wanted to bring that one up. And if anybody's watching this, right? If anybody is watching this, just tell us what do you remember out of this one in particular, about C-3PO, about anything to do with the Mandela effect. What do you remember about this one? I'll stop sharing and go back to you there. But that just blows my mind, that Looney Tunes one. Blows my mind.
So a lot of the people doing the theories on, well, how is this possible? How could we be changing our timeline? They tend to focus on CERN and what they're doing. And they say that, when they're doing their experiments and whatnot, their activites are what's changing the timeline. So that's the fun conspiracy part.
Oh, I like that with the Hadron Collider, right? With the particle accelerator. Yeah.
Exactly.
So anybody who doesn't know, CERN in Geneva in Switzerland it's miles. What is it, like 30 miles, probably more?
Yeah.
Great big donut
circle
under the Earth. Yeah, where they're smashing particles faster than the speed of light at each other, just for shits and giggles to see what'll happen, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and quite possibly. Well, I remember Brian Cox, Professor Brian Cox, not the actor Brian Cox, but the former musician from D Ream, that Professor Brian Cox, the physician, that one, who said anybody who thinks CERN will create a black hole is a twat. They were his words. His words exactly.
Yeah.
But come on, Brian. Like, I like you, Brian, but come on, man. Like, how are you explaining the Looney Tunes thing to me? Like, I hear what you're saying, Brian, but come on, there's something going on there that's pretty weird.
Well, I mean, and I would say that one of the things that always gets me is that, like, when we talk about what time is and how it could exist, like, not like our current moment we consider to be concrete material, right? But the past, what is it? Is it also concrete material? If we travel there, it's concrete material. But when we're not there, is it still there without us? You know, it's like we don't know what higher dimensions really are. We can find them in math, we find them in physics, but they don't line up in our understanding of them. And so what's the fourth dimension? What's the fifth dimension? What's the 11th? We have no certainty of what that actually looks like. And time is supposed to be one of those dimensions. So if it's not like something that's being materially experienced by any observer, why couldn't it change? You know?
Well, precisely. It really is the final frontier, isn't it? And it always reminds me of the Avengers movie, where anybody who's grown up on 80s sci-fi, and certainly Back to the Future, with the old grandfather paradox, you know, you go back in time and you change something, you change in the future, you know, in quite radical ways. But I love it in the Avengers. They're like, no, that's not how it works. Like, because if you go back in the past, it's actually your future. So changing your future doesn't change the past. You're like, wow, that's just blown my mind. I love that. And maybe that's right. Maybe that is entirely correct.
That is one way to understand it, with like separate timelines, right? And then like how they exist, even if we're not there or not. But another possibility would be that, you know, there is the separation between idealism and materialism. And materialism, you know, everything is matter, right? We're matter, it's matter. We just don't know what our consciousness is, but everything's matter. But in idealism, you're looking at everything as a mind or a projection of a mind. So like reality is just some kind of like reality soup. And we're just kind of peering into it with our five senses plus whatever. And but the way it exists and its dimensional qualities is totally different than what it is. And we're just like interfacing with it, like with like something. Like our bodies are like headsets that just peer into a tiny little bit of it, and it doesn't see very much at all. But time, that's just like we're perceiving it. That's not real. You know, it's like they say, you know, in quantum physics that, you know, it's like that time is not like fundamental to the whole thing working out as a theory. So it's possible that, you know, it's like that we're at fault. And the timelines, why couldn't they change? Why wouldn't they be able to change? You know, it's like, it's just not our experience. If we're limiting everything that we think just to our empirical evidence, we're limiting it down to our five senses and how it interacts with reality. And our five senses are pretty small.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
dimensionally speaking.
What
do you think, Paul? I want to hear it.
I've argued it. So
we've argued this before, yeah. Go on.
It's man-made. So time, we created time, we created the calendar, we created the hours of the day and all that. And although, you can say there's rotations and everything, so there's some sort of understanding behind it. It's a man-made theory. So I feel, and this will be done at some point in the future, we'll dive deeper into this. But I think we restrict ourselves from the stuff we know. We put these sort of E equals MC squared. We put the formulas around it, and I think they limit our understanding because we think, we figured that out now, so that's the way things are. But I wonder if because we've done that, then we've stopped ourselves from exploring other possibilities.
Right.
See, I think
you can't go back in time.
I think the opposite of that.
Time doesn't exist.
So what it does? No, I disagree. So yeah. So here we go. So I think on this one, right, that yes, the labels that we put on time are socially constructed. They're anthropogenic, right? We've created those without a doubt. Right. But time is a result of the equation velocity and distance. right? So time exists, whether we know about it or not. Time exists.
Very empirical, isn't it?
It's there, whether we know about it or not. Time exists, and we can call it, well, it's taking me 22 bananas to get from A to B, or we can say it's taking me 22 minutes. It doesn't matter. So the labels on it are socially constructed. I get that, but time exists whether we exist or not.
Unless everything is a mind or dependent on a mind for existence. Because what experience do we have that doesn't involve a material world? Is dreams. They don't exist anywhere. We have all these experiences with dreams, but there's no connection to anything that we know about physically, other than they resemble things that we experience physically. But they could do anything, depending on how interesting of a dreamer you are. Your dreams can be unlimited. So if everything is a mind or dependent on a mind, then that material existence is untethered. It's unnecessary. No, time didn't exist. No, time doesn't exist. No, it's not existing right now. Reality itself could just be another level of perception, like a dream, dependent on nothing except for the mind, And if we had a different mind, like an alien mind, maybe we could perceive, greater levels of it. Maybe we could see all sides of an object at once. Maybe we could see all sides of an object at once and through history, all at the same time. And maybe we could pop in and out whenever we wanted to, sort of like ultra-terrestrials, They're operating on a totally different dimension.
That is serendipitous, Carrie. Well done. Look at that segue. So, conspiracy theory number 2, Carrie, what have you got for us?
This one is one of my favorites. Now, we're going to define the difference between the ultra-terrestrial and the crypto-terrestrial, I think is really important. Because the crypto-terrestrial is like aliens live underground, Sasquatch has always been active, we just don't encounter them, but they are here, okay? But we're kind of describing them as something that has a material existence, right? Whereas the ultra-terrestrial is operating on different dimensions in the same way that we're a 3-dimensional object that casts a 2-dimensional shadow on the ground. These ultra-terrestrials are like on dimension 7, and they're casting 3-dimensional shadows, dreamlike qualities into our existence. So they produce UFOs. They could be responsible for fairy activity. They could be, like the Luguru, which is a dire wolf kind of character from the plains in America, which has got a French name, I think, associates with something over there.
What was that, Carrie? That one there?
Oh, the Luguru. The Luguru.
I still don't know what you said. The one.
Lugaru. Yeah, it's a wolf man kind of character, a cryptid. Like Sasquatch, Chupacabra. It's not very different.
Yeah.
That's a different one, but it's in the same category. It's like
why
people.
Has nobody ever made a fairy tale of a Lugaroo and a Subaru? That would be amazing. It only has a cultural impact on a very small group of people, which I happen to be related to, so that's why I know about it. There's actually a game. A Lugaroo HD is a game you can play on Steam. I'm just Googling this now.
I need to look that. Yeah,
it's 80% off at the moment. It's only $1.99 to play Lugaroo HD on Steam right now.
But all other games are available.
Yeah, they are.
Good.
But I do not know whether they have a Lugaroo in them, so I don't know. Lugaroo HD definitely has a Lugaroo. Just putting it out there.
So one of the things that I find really interesting on this subject of ultra-terrestrials and crypto-terrestrials is that when the people are reporting about conversations in the government in America about UFOs and stuff, a lot of them lean towards saying, hey, we don't know if it's really from off planet or if it's kind of here, and they talk about it having a supernatural element. They talk about it having them always having been here. They talk about the dimensional possibilities of it. It's a very strong theme in UFO conversations.
So,
and
just to clarify, Carrie, with the
not in movies but in the governmental reports. So
the ultra-terrestrials then
right
aren't necessarily what we consider extraterrestrials, who are literal 3D beings like us who are visiting us in spacecraft. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, an extraterrestrial would come from another planet, off of Earth. An ultra-terrestrial would come from another dimension, just kind of like passing through our existence and however it wants, or in ways that we can't understand because we do not think in so many different dimensions. And then a crypto-terrestrial would be like, it lives here, it's always been here, we just haven't discovered it. We just don't have any evidence, it's like a giant, it's like, say there's giants, they just live inside the Earth because it's hollow and we didn't know that, those kind of things.
Could ultra-terrestrials be people walking past our universe, which is just in some sort of glass in a museum in their world, and they're just walking past it, casting the shadow?
Yeah, that could be a very real possibility too. There could be so many things happening outside of our ability to comprehend it, and then our brains just interpret what's going on in a way that makes sense to us, And we're all the same because we're all little humans, so we're all interpreting it very similarly. Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think that's a possibility.
Crazy, that's mind blowing, man. Absolutely mind blowing. So when you say these have been around for a long time, I mean, they could be
fairies.
Could they be older than us then? Because they have, let's say, they are able to move from 3-dimensional plane to 3-dimensional plane, whatever, these different dimensions. So these guys are the ones that could have been responsible for previous human civilizations, that have collapsed and things like that, because they're older than dirt, man. They're older than Joe Biden. They've been around for a long time.
Slightly, not much. Slightly.
Touch and go.
Which this is pretty much Biden's motto most days. Touch and go. That's crazy. That one blows my mind. The Mandela effect, I can get my head around that quite quickly. I say I can get my head around it. I get, the concept behind it. Ultra-terrestrials, man, blows my head. In millions of pieces.
Because it requires you to try to think in more dimensions than your brain can process, and that's why it's so hard.
Could it be that we just think these things because we want to believe them? So if you go back far enough, you go to the Vikings. They thought there's however many gods. They thought there was a god of thunder, a god of seas, and all that sort of loads of different gods because they couldn't explain something. So they thought it's got to be a person, and when you die, there's going to be a party. But actually, we can explain it through science and clouds clashing and all the other things we can now. Do we explain things?
That's a really good point.
Okay. So let's take it back to the beginning, because if you take the Norse gods and then you go back, to the Greek gods, and then you go back to the Egyptian gods, and then you go back to Sumer, okay? And then you have Enlil, and you have Enki, and you have the Anunnaki, and you have all these descriptions of these characters who are interacting with the Mesopotamia back at the beginning of cities, the beginning of writing, this massive explosion of information. They're just like learning everything at once. And what they called them were Mies, M-E, and they were giving these like contents of wisdom, these tablets of knowledge. And so it's like, and then they taught me how to do eye makeup, and then they taught me how to write, how to throw pottery.
Was eye makeup before writing? Was that they did eye makeup before they did writing?
I don't know. I think it's maybe. They're pretty coexisting. The evidence for them. I don't know the exact timeline on that one, but they say that these Anunnaki, and it's not just Anunnaki. It's like they're called Dinger. That's what they called them. Yeah. And the Anunnaki were just like the children of Anu and Ki, so it was like the upper, group, and then they had a whole bunch of workers, which were the Yigi, and they rebelled, and it sounds like a biblical story if I keep going, but they're the Watchers and everything from the Bible and whatnot, but angels, or demons, whichever one you want. They didn't have the good and bad. They were just like the guys who were teaching us everything is what they were, and they had a fish-like quality or a reptilian-like quality, and they had before the language was clear, they were making clay figurines of reptilian humanoids, which you can look at, Google Ubaid, civilization and whatnot. But so why do we have all these ideas about Enki? He's I think he's this Enlil's the storm god. I can't remember if it's Enki or Enlil, but one's like agriculture, the other storm. They associated them with different powers. And I've been writing a book about Namtar, and from his perspective, it's an Anunnaki character who was responsible for creating about 60 diseases. That was what he did. And so in my book, he's a virologist. Yeah. And he's using, viruses to manipulate DNA because that's his job. And it explains why we have so many jumps in our evolution so quickly over a short period of time. It's because he's busy, he's active, he's there.
Here's right. Here's my counter. So, and I said at the beginning of this, I want to believe, right? I'm Fox Mulder in this shit. I want to believe, right? But here's my problem. Here's where I am with this one. Right?
Okay.
So, and it relates to what Paul said. I think the most powerful mechanism that humans have to understand the world around us is story, is narrative. We bring things into story, and I think wasn't Jacques Foucault? Who was it? It might have been Kant. Can't remember. Some philosopher said there's nothing beyond the text, right? There's nothing. A philosopher at some point in time said
that's what he wants to remember as in history. Some guy.
Yeah, some guy. I'll find the name in a minute, right? It might have been Camp. I'll find it in a minute. Whatever.
Sure.
But it said there's nothing beyond the text, right? So you've got, and I personally believe that most religions, most stories of religion are anthropomorphizations of natural events, right? So Ra and so you got the sun and the moon. These are personifications of the sun and the moon. Even Jesus as a character is an anthropomorphization of the sun, and then the 12 disciples are the zodiac, right? So you've got
symbolism,
ancient, if you like. Yeah, you've got symbolism. You've got ancient civilizations that don't have Twitter. They don't have PlayStation 5. They haven't even got a telly. They got nothing, man. They got fire.
They built the pyramids,
and they got the night sky. Well, we'll get that.
What happens if you don't have tech?
We'll get back to that. We'll get back. Yeah. Look at the engineers turn up. Yeah. I hear you. But what I'm saying is, right. So you've got this idea that in Mesopotamia, which is northern Africa, right? So it's just south of the Mediterranean. That's the sort of Mesopotamia area,
Iraq.
Reaching up to
Iraq, okay, between the Euphrates and the Tigris.
Right.
It is right there.
So one of the most abundant wildlife in that area is fish and reptiles, right? Fish and reptiles. So are they just anthropomorphizing the natural phenomena around them into story?
They traveled.
What's going on there?
They traveled between the stars and Earth on Nibiru, whatever that is. And if you go into different writings, especially the Bible's my favorite, if you go into Ezekiel, it's like, and this is a bit of they inherited this story, but they're describing the cherubim, they're describing the wheels, they're describing like all these different, it's like rushing of water underneath a platform that extends above their head. And I'll send you a video on this because it was so fascinating. It's like if you try to visualize what Ezekiel is describing, it sounds like he's got a UFO above him, and then some flaming, objects come down, and they've got little gyroscopes that are spinning around and zipping in and out away from them. Well, he's hearing like the rushing of, water, like a jet engine of some sort. And then above, it's like there's a sapphire thing, and it's all so bizarre.
Crazy.
But it's not anthropomorphizing. These guys, when they're describing things in Sumer, and when they're describing things in Egypt and like all this different, like the earliest writings, these things are fantastical even for our own, like we don't even go this far when we're doing like superhero stories. It's like, yeah, we're entertaining ourselves, but we keep it kind of safe. We keep safe ideas in there, and they are the ancient writing is wild.
So what we can surmise from that is that there were some pretty good hallucinogenics available in the desert around that time. Quite possibly. There's some really good, salvia or whatever. There's some really good shit knocking around Mesopotamia at that time. Well,
you say that though, and you could say that they probably took a little bit, and that's why there was a burning bush. or that's why they saw some person hovering above.
No, I think
them.
someone set a bush on fire, man. That's right.
But Carrie's saying that they can be describing a spaceship. They wouldn't have been able to imagine that because did they have anything that looked like a spaceship?
No, there's no reference. I saw this only this morning. I saw it was a post on X, and it was like it was Egyptian hieroglyphics, right? And it looked just like a light bulb that Edison created.
Yeah,
I mean, it was identical, and I saw it, I thought, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And then people saying no, because it was even community noted, and people were saying no, it's Horus, it's a snake, and you can see the eye on the snake, but actually it looked like a filament in the bulb, if that made sense.
Right.
And really interesting post. I'll send it to you guys. Really
I know this one. That's one, and they also have like the Baghdad battery, which is like a lead rod and a bunch of copper things inside of the clay pots that would function like a rudimentary. If you got to build a battery tomorrow, and you got raw materials, this is what you're going to make. So there's some stuff like that. But one of my favorites is like in how much we don't know about like the world that was before history was written down. One of the things that I find the most fascinating is that if they tested the hair of like the mummies, and they found tobacco and they found cocaine in the hair, and it's like those are New World crops. Those are from South America and and North America. So how did Egyptian mummies get those drugs in their system? That's like, what did the world look like?
They were much better at trade than we thought. Here's my thing, though, with this one, and we do need to move on to the next one in a minute. But here's my thing with that last one, right? Which is, if ancient civilizations were so advanced, right, and beyond our comprehension, how does that stand up next to before we wrote it down? Because if they're that advanced, why are they not writing it down? Why are they not recording?
It was destroyed in the Younger Dryas.
Carrie, what's conspiracy theory number 3?
So it's the Younger Dryas event. Okay, so and I say the Younger Dryas event because I am not convinced that it was an impact, simply something cataclysmic. Okay, so then the possibility is that everything from these ancient civilizations, like from Atlantis to, just like all the different little evidences that are scattered around, that maybe people were doing a little bit more than we gave them credit for, was wiped away. And if we listen to Plato in his story of Atlantis, the Younger Dryas was like a single day event, and it all disappeared. And that might be just an exaggeration.
Yeah.
But
So for anybody watching who doesn't know what we're talking about with Younger Dryas, it's an era in Earth's history. At the moment, we're in the Holocene era, I think it's called. And then what we're talking 10 to 12,000 years ago was the end of the Younger Dryas era, right? And in that period was when something was apparently had happened that radically altered life on Earth. And
about 12,000 years ago.
About 12,000 years ago. There you go. Cool. And the popular theory is some sort of meteor strike, some sort of impact, extraterrestrial impact, which caused global change, massive tsunamis and massive climate change that effectively was an extinction event at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the evidence for the extinction event is like the megafauna, the dire wolf, the giant sloth, the saber-toothed tiger, everything that existed in North America all disappeared. That's for sure. Yeah. And humans definitely like had different settlement patterns. The globe dropped in temperature for a while. The fact that something happened is almost indisputable. It's in the sediment. It's in the ice cores. But how it was caused is what's debated. But the conspiracy behind the Younger Dryas event is, did it wipe out a prior civilization? And, that story that we get from Plato, he's writing in, say, 390 BC, 360, somewhere in there. And he's talking about somebody who came a few generations back. I think it was like 6 generations before him. A guy named Solon goes to Egypt, and he's talking to the people in the temple. And the priests in Egypt, in Sais, I think it's called, the temple of Sais, or I can't pronounce that properly, so don't take that one. But but he tells them, it's like, oh, you Greeks, you don't know anything about history. 9,000 years ago, there was this place, Atlantis. It was a highly developed, incredibly, technologically amazing, just place where they had an acropolis, and they had like concentric rings of moat and land, and they had an incredible military and running hot and cold water, and then lists all these technologies, but a lot in engineering. And those guys, they disappeared in a giant flood. They existed beyond the Strait of Gibraltar, and they were just out there, and you don't even know about that. You know nothing about our history or who you are or what what this world is about.
So,
but we're Egyptian, and we do.
Yeah, I mean, they got a fair shout on knowing stuff, haven't they, Egyptians? So what?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're mixing two conspiracies in here, which is cool. So are we saying it's because Atlantis? We touched on Atlantis a moment ago. So are we saying then actually Atlantis as a civilization, as a what's the word I'm looking for? City, whatever, a settlement, whatever, was wiped
civilization.
out. Was wiped out by whatever happened.
Yes,
in the Young
that's
Dryas
what.
era.
And if you read Timaeus and Creatus, written by Plato, it's described in detail. So that's the story written by Plato. And this is what we have. Now, some people say this is an allegory to teach about a wicked civilization being destroyed by their own wickedness. And some people say, actually, I think this is a historical record from this guy who went to Egypt, and this is what he said. And they just use it in the context of a moral lesson, So, it could be either one. But the fun thing about this, like ancient, civilization is that there's a structure called the Eye of the Sahara, that it's like the Sahara Desert and like Mauritania area. It would have been, it would have had a massive river coming in at this point in time, 12,000 years ago. It would have gone up to where this Eye of the Sahara is, which is a bunch of concentric rings. It has the deposits of like red and black rocks that are supposed to have existed in Atlantis, according to Plato's description. And there's a lot of things that match up. Now, a lot of things have matched up over a lot of time, but I think this one's pretty compelling. If you take it back to, it's right outside the Strait of Gibraltar. You take it back to, it's just across, like, what is it, Libya? That's right there. And a lot of the details, I think we need to dig.
You can see it on Google Maps. So I looked at it today, and on Google Earth, you can put, I think, Richard circles in, and you can go to it and look at it from above, and you can see the rivers. So you can see the way the streams and the way the rivers and the streams that come off it.
So I'm going to share that. You just sent me some
in
stuff.
Existence on the planet, and you're like, that is not random. That's not a random thing that's been created. That is.
No, it's all blurry
that
again. I've got to
man-made.
fix that. So can you guys see that?
No, you can't see it to full effect.
I mean, that looks like an image of space, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very circular.
Crazy. But why?
If you look at that bottom left-hand image, although it's blurry, that's probably the best one, sort of the best image, the most natural one.
So just because it's circular in that way, and because it's symmetry, why can't that be natural, Paul? Because there are so many things within nature that are symmetrical and circular. Why not flowers?
There's a small one, a bigger, and another circle.
But the flowers, the eye. Look at your eye, right? That's natural. Your eye has symmetry and circular symmetry within it.
Yes, but this is not organic. It's not an organic structure. So the question isn't like, whether it could be or not. The question is, why can't we dig? We need to dig. We need to find out.
Why can't we dig? Are we?
Politics. It's in Mauritania.
Wow, let's go, man. I've got my spade.
So it says, according to his writings, in Atlantis, it says, concentric circles, 2 of water, 3 of land, with an ocean to, I can't remember if it's north or south. Mm-hmm. And so you look at that and go, that doesn't look. I'd love to go there and just see it and just walk around it.
So you're telling me? Okay, so here's a really good one. Okay. So actually, there's a YouTube thing that says locate. So you're telling me that that's Atlantis?
It could be. I think it's the best theory for it. There's a lot of theories, but I think that's the best one. That's in Mauritania.
And you can. Oh yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
And that's also where Mansa, one of the wealthiest people in history, comes from because of the natural deposits and everything in the area. And Atlantis was supposed to be minerally very rich too. There's so many little things that are, that line up in a very fascinating way. But I think that's the best one.
That's
that
crazy,
I've heard.
man. Yeah, I'm really into this one. I'm into this one, Carrie.
I
like this.
Okay, good.
Cool. This is a cool one. I like
this. And so then we look at okay, so we've got the Egyptians who are, they're doing coke and they've got nicotine in their system, right? So we have this network that spans the whole globe. We've got the Nazca lines in Peru. Now I've been to Cusco and I've been to see how these stone buildings are just cobbled together with just the oddest shapes, and you cannot put a piece of paper through them, but there they are. So there's this incredible technology that we do not have. That's just amazing. That exists in many different places around the earth. It's something that could have been more advanced than we are today, that existed in the past, that does not exist now. Where would it have come from? An ancient civilization that got wiped out by a cataclysmic event.
There's a lot of pyramids in different parts of the world.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Why pyramid? Why would everyone do pyramid?
Well,
and why would they do them on ley lines?
But that's a different question. But there is a geometric answer to that question, though, isn't there, Paul?
We don't do it now.
A triangle is the most rigid, simple structure. Yeah, it's a triangle.
But why four-sided?
Won't bend, will it? Well, because it will lean on itself. Right, and you could do it three-sided for sure, but a four-sided pyramid will lean on itself and it won't fall over. So you stack 4 triangles in that way, then it's like you've got a keystone, like in a bridge, right? So geometrically, it's the most simple, rigid structure that you can design.
But how do you get the stones to the top then?
Oh, I mean, and ley lines, that's well beyond my level of pay. And I've got so many things listed that I don't think we're going to be able to get to. But there's the Piri Reis map that has the Earth in a way that they couldn't have known, but it could have come from an older civilization, just passing down that information. And I mean, there's so many technologies that disappeared, Greek fire. That was something that a chemical weapon that they had in ancient Greece that didn't make it to the next to the Roman Empire. And then you got the Antikythera mechanism. They had analog computers, and Archimedes, he discovered calculus of a sort. Not exactly, not totally. And then that was lost. But there were so many things that were in the ancient world that hint at the possibility that rather than the beginning, it was in fact an empire in decline at the very end of what the remnants. And the stories that they tell is that in different parts of around the world, just is that, it's something happened and, people brought this information to this place. So they fled one and they came with it to another community that survived. And then they brought in this advanced technology, but they didn't have the infrastructure. If the Earth as it is right now were to deal with an event, the biggest problem that we would have is the destroyed infrastructure. We still have the technology. We just won't be able to use it. Yeah, for completely true. It's like the world completely coming to an end, massive apocalypse, and me still having my computer and trying to send an email. It's not going to happen.
Not happening.
Definitely. I'm not getting online. All the cables are broke. Yeah.
But what would we do? It's we would take what information we have and we try to retain as much as we could and pass it on to the survivors. And if you look back in history, it's it looks like it's a real possibility that's what happened. Yes.
What if all the people that had the knowledge to pass that on were wiped out? So then it doesn't matter. So imagine I'm a technical genius. But you've got someone who's a builder. They're not going to know how the computer works.
Oh, for
so
sure.
They can't pass that knowledge on. So it gets lost.
Yeah.
And so it's gone in one generation. But the story about the computer might not disappear. It might just evolve.
I like this one. This is good.
Yeah.
This is really good. I'm loving this.
It's in an hour.
We can't. I mean, we're exhausted time already. We're 54 minutes in. We're exhausted time. Paul, do you want to know something?
Always.
21. 21 right now. 21 people watching. Thank you, guys. That is.
I thought that was the answer to the meaning of life.
No, that's 42, man. That's
it's 42.
Half of that is half of the meaning of life, actually. coincidentally. So we've half achieved the meaning of life tonight. We're tracking how many people watch concurrently, Carrie, in the last few weeks, and we've gone upward. Evening one seems to be quite good, and I don't think it's actually anything to do with the time. I don't think it's anything to do with you and me, Paul, and our boring world that we bring. This is all about Carrie and what she's bringing to the
It's
table
our global
right now,
reach.
Our global reach. Carrie, you honestly, we can't thank you enough for coming on tonight. What an absolute superstar you are. I don't care what you say. You're not a conspiracy enthusiast. You're a conspiracy expert, Carrie. We're having that. You're an expert in our field, 100%. I think we need a part 2 because there's so many, isn't there? And we'll get that on in the next few weeks. The next few weeks, just work out time with Paul and Carrie, and we'll have a part 2 where we can delve a bit deeper into some of these and start to show some more evidence on the screen of what we're talking about, so people can see these things without my blurry screen share. We'll get something on. But Carrie, thank you so much. Paul,
thank you.
How cool is Carrie, man?
Epic, to be honest. And you've got such a vast knowledge up there, such a great knowledge that. I love it. It's like when I talk to Simon sometimes, and he comes up with these complicated words and his theories and everything. I'm like, I don't know that, so I'm going to go and look it up. You've given me loads of things that I didn't know.
Carrie's blown.
Now I'm going to go have to look it all up now. So I'm more intelligent than I was when I first watched.
Well, this Richat structure, is it Richat? Is that how I pronounce that? Richat.
R-I-S-H-A-T.
I'm looking at that now. I am. That's my bedtime reading, man. That has blown my mind.
The fact you can see it on Google.
That's crazy, man. That's absolutely crazy. Yeah. Next time, I want to talk about Area 51 and stuff like that. I want to talk about government conspiracies. Let's talk about government stuff next time.
Definitely.
We need a part 2. We'll do that in the next few weeks. Let's get a part 2, Conspiracy 2. That would be really cool. But Carrie, we know you've got to go, and we don't want to keep you longer than we should. So, Paul, round of applause for Carrie. How cool is Carrie, man?
Fantastic. I'm sure everyone, guys. All 21 people are applauding at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. You better be, guys. You better be. But Carrie, thank you so much for coming on. And we'll catch you soon, bud.
Okay. Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me.
Cheers, buddy.
See you later.
Mate, how cool was that? Absolutely cool. Mine still does the thumbs up. Look at
thumbs
that.
Up.
Still does it. No, it's going to do the fireworks. Look at that. Fireworks, man. You see my fireworks going on there.
Does it work for me? No.
No, you got to get yourself an Apple machine, mate. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Right. That was epic. I absolutely love that. And it's blown my mind. We need more Carrie in our lives. That's what I'm saying. We need more conspiracy, more Carrie in our lives. And like I say, it's not a conspiracy if it's true, is it? No, it's not conspiracy. It's true. Love that. Have you enjoyed doing the later night episode, Paul? What do you think to that?
It's been nice, actually. Yeah, it's been lovely.
Yeah. Do you think we should carry on? Do you think we should carry on with the later nights episode? Maybe we'll put a poll out. So the 21 people watching, we'll put a poll out.
Just give us your feedback.
Should we start at lunch times or do the evenings? I actually think the evening ones work better. I do. I think we should do it from here on in. We'll move to the evenings because I think it's a bit less pressure. Got more time. It's cool. Let's do that. Cool.
Is this a dictatorship then? It sounds like it's dictatorship.
No, we're with the will of the people. It's actually the complete opposite.
The will of the people.
Yeah, I'm going to ask 21 people. Is this a better time for you? Basically. And we don't even know if they're the same people that watched last time. Who knows? Who knows? Might be up in the 40s now for actual number of viewers. Who knows?
Whole new crowd.
Paul, what's coming up on Through the Looking Glass?
What's coming up next? Let me just check the schedule. We are going to do.
He actually does. He does have a schedule.
I've got a schedule. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this word, and I'm not going to repeat this word many times because I don't want people to learn it and go be. Oh, I can't even speak. But roadmaps. It's all about roadmaps. Oh my
God, he's always banging on about roadmaps.
Roadmaps. So we've got a roadmap for this stuff.
Right.
It may look amateur, but my God, it's professional under the hood.
Yeah, we'll get there, man. Give us time.
Next week's episode is going to be technology, or it's a theory, basically. It's a theory which is science fiction, but actually may become fact because the idea behind it is quite cool. So technology used to grow babies.
That's proper Matrix shit right there, isn't it? That's crazy.
The science fiction behind it is.
So that's coming up next week, right? We're going to talk about. Could we create babies? Lab-grown babies, basically.
Lab-grown, yeah. Artificial wombs.
Artificial wombs. All right, cool.
You're like, and then that's crazy stuff. What are you on about? But
that is crazy stuff.
When you start thinking about it,
And then we are going to do some election stuff, right? We'll jump online
Yeah, why not?
this weekend. We'll do some election stuff. Go out and vote if you feel that way inclined. Do what you want. I'm not really bothered. Go out and vote on Thursday.
Well, you're going to vote.
Yeah, I'll vote. We'll definitely vote.
You are bothered, then, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, other people.
Special.
If you're not that bothered, then don't vote.
Last episode we did an election special, and then you're sitting there going, "I can't be bothered." Well, obviously you are.
Do what you want. If you're watching this and you want to vote, vote. If you don't, then don't. I couldn't give two monkeys, mate. Basically, I really don't care. But we'll talk about it. We'll have a little session on the voting stuff. What's happening? Whatever. We'll have a little chit chat about that. Paul. I like the evening ones. Let's have a chat, man. Let's see if we can make this a thing going forward. I think this is cool.
Let's converse.
Cool. Looking forward to lab-grown babies next week then. Yeah. Which I've had tastier things on my barbecue, but I'm looking forward to this. It's all good.
No, that's good.
Cool beans. All right, dude. Well, Paul, much love. Everyone to the 21 people who, for
21
some
people,
God unknown reason, are still watching. Thank you so much, you absolute diamonds, and especially
Carrie,
and especially to Carrie.
They came for Carrie, and they just feel uncomfortable leaving before the end. It's that awkward English thing at the end of a party.
We'll keep it going.
Don't I go?
Where you hover around the door at the end, going.
You wait until someone else is gone. You're like, I can go now.
Shall I leave? Yeah, no, we're gonna leave now. It's fine. The party's over, guys. Lights are on. The police have turned up. The party's over, man. Yeah, we've run out of Egyptian cocaine. It's all over. Yeah,
Egyptian cocaine.
That's what we're finding in their hair, man.
That's what we can do after the watershed. We can say that, and we can have fun with it.
There's so much more we can do now. So much more. We can just say fuck you to everyone. It's great. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
come back again.
Maybe not. We demonetized before we're monetized on YouTube. Look at that. We'll be on Rumble next week. Don't worry about it. Right. Yeah, good stuff. Paul, I love you and leave you, my friend. But once more, thank you so much to Carrie. You absolute diamond. And Carrie will be back on soon because we need more Carrie in our lives. To the 21 people still watching and anybody who watches this later on, much love. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the support.
Peace out.
See you later, guys. Bye.